Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, it is I am the one and only Piglet here once again, and I am back for the likes of the Mexi Toys videos. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of Sonic and SEGA All-Stars Racing while we're playing through mission mode for the Xbox 360, /PlayStation 3, /Nintendo Wii, /Nintendo DS, /PC, and even iOS smartphones, despite the fact that you can no longer get that game anymore on the iOS version, mainly because it only works on older iPhones or anything else like that. So, last time we've essentially did manage to accomplish missions 1 all the way up to 10. And as you can tell, we have actually gone for very good results within the forms of AAA score, which that's all good all in all, but it wasn't until in some missions anyway that there might be occasional moments where we might able to actually get double A's or single A for this specific rank. So today, for this video, is about the fact that we're going to be continue playing through mission mode, as I mentioned this before, and this time we're going to mission 11, which involves around you play as Beat, and in addition to that, rather than just trying to do some boost challenge, unlike the forms of how it does it from last time, so instead, we now need to able to do a lot of drifting. So because of that though, thankfully, this won't be too bad, all things considered, especially noticeable because thankfully there are a lot of curved roads here and there, so hopefully I should be able to actually tackle for this mission no problem. So, especially noticeable because I might consider trying to able to achieve a AAA rank. So because of that though, everything else will become to expect. So anyway, a few things I want to talk about is about the fact that recently today's date, of course, there is the 24th of April today, in some cases in 2024 today. So naturally speaking though, is about the fact that we've only got about 2 more days to go until Knuckles the series on Paramount Plus is going to be releasing at somewhat in around just around the corner. Not only for the likes of the forms of the American version, but as well as the forms of the UK version as well, despite the fact that we have to wait for about 3 days during the forms of in the UK version, which honestly I'm going to be fine with that, especially noticeable because obviously we are still in the middle of this process of able to actually continue playing through not only for the likes of Princess Peach Showtime, as what Tiana, she's obviously doing quite well, all things considered, despite the fact that she did somehow missed out on the forms of quite a few pickups from time to time, specifically with the forms of not only for its Sparkle Gems, but it's also about the forms of sometimes though that she couldn't figure out in the journey forms of her brain recently. So because of that though, I've honestly have no idea why I'm somehow questioning that. But anyway, so as a result, in addition to that though, is about the fact that recently, for what I've just found out, about the fact that, oh yeah, before I get into more details onto that specific topic though, every once in a while is about the fact that in journey forms of some missions anyway, specifically mission number 12, where basically we have to do a hit contest, and basically in order able to actually squish the forms of some little enemies, as you can tell, during the forms of this particular racetrack and during the forms of Rampart Road. And by the way, something's worth noting for, again, if you ever experienced the demo version of Sonic and SEGA All-Stars Racing, specifically on the PlayStation 3 version, you're able to actually play as not only Sonic, but also Dr. Eggman on that particular demo. And it's also worth noting for, the only track you can only play in that demo on the PlayStation 3 version, that's what appears to be, well, what else? Rampart Road. And as you can see, I've somehow managed to able to already got the trophy, and that's mainly because I somehow managed to automatically use the actual All-Star move for Billy Hatcher, and as a result, he can able to actually run up on that particular egg. So, yeah, that's the main part about the balls of Billy Hatcher, especially noticeable because, well, obviously he did have his own game back in Journey Forms in 2003, or technically 2006, on the PC version as far as I remember correctly, but mind you, it's been ages ago since I actually known about the forms of Billy Hatcher, since in Journey Forms of not only in this game, as well as the forms of Shadow the Hedgehog as well, for the sake of the Billy Hatcher gun, for if you managed able to beat the neutral pathway for the first time around. So, at least as far as I'm assuming so anyway. So, however though, here's the thing about this is that there might be a couple of times though that I might have able to actually try to get used to with the controls as well as the movements and stuff like that, while trying to able to actually ride on the forms of the rolling egg, but that's besides the point, and usually, relatively speaking, I didn't get a chance to able to actually get the AAA rank, which I'm alright with that. So anyways, let's move on to the next mission, where it involves around collecting stuff. and this time we're going to be playing as Dr. Eggman of all things. Usually takes place in Whale Lagoon, and something tells me not only we can collect rings, but also we can collect Chaos Emeralds. So because of that though, yeah, I'm a little bit more excited able to actually collect those specific Chaos Emeralds, because if you do manage to able to, obtain a Chaos Emerald, if you couldn't tell, that way it actually boosts the actual scoring for your tally. So, nothing else I can really say about that, I guess. I mean, no matter what though, it's been about 2 days ago since I actually have last played this game for sure, because like I said before, that Tiana, she's obviously still in the process of able to actually playing through Princess Peach Showtime recently. So because of that though, hopefully though that the entire process won't be nearly as long as the forms of how it does it for Yoshi's Crafted World, at least what I've noticing this while looking back on it though. Especially noticeable, it's been about 4 years ago since we've last did our Let's Play of Yoshi's Crafted World. Even though I will admit though right away, our views count wasn't exactly ridiculously high. Ah, jeez, I was so close to get a AAA as well. If only if I somehow missed a couple of rings, that's the only thing. But, oh well, no big deal though. I'm also able to actually try the triple A rank on my spare own time, so either way though, not the end of the world personally. So anyway, let's move on to the next mission, what involves around Rival Race, and we're going to be playing as Tails in Journey Forms of Roulette Road. So something tells me it's about the fact that we can able to race against with Sonic, so... And I wonder, because of how the fact that if you couldn't tell already, yes indeed, I did somehow manage to able to buy some specific music off screen, so just to ensure that we can able to hear this cool music in the background. Like for instance, we'll go for this music track for the likes of the forms that based off from Sonic Adventure in Iced Cap level, as you're able to actually race against with Sonic in Journey Forms of Tails' story in Sonic Adventure. So that makes a perfect fit anyway, despite the fact that it does manage to take place in a casino environment rather than just Iced Cap level. So, oh well though. So, anyways though, so let's get to the forms of some news and discussions alike while doing the forms of this process of able to actually still playing through mission mode itself. Obviously if you couldn't tell, is about the fact that as far as what I mentioned about this before, since in Journey Forms have been 2 days ago, that obviously though I've already mentioned about the fact that there are fewer things that I've already mentioned about in Journey Forms of the most recent ND World presentation, despite the fact that I'm not overly keen on the forms of ND Worlds these days now. Well, that's just mainly because it did have some potential, but as a result for execution wise, it doesn't seem able to please everybody, myself included, because we still have no idea when they're going to be bringing up the forms of a proper release date for the likes of the forms of Hollow Knight's Silk Song, but that doesn't stop there, because somehow we didn't get ourselves with the forms of Shantae Advanced Risky's Evolution, because obviously no matter what though, it's just about the fact that the actual ND world like this is just a huge missed opportunity for me. Although it does have some bit of potential though, like I said before, but I'll get into more details onto that specific topic once we get to the forms of the next missions to come, because here we have ourselves, without a doubt, is the most nerve-wracking mission in the whole entire game for me anyway. Well, it wasn't until you've ever able to actually experience the Wii version of this particular mission, because what's wrong with the forms of this mission to begin with? Well, obviously if you couldn't tell, we're going to be playing as Big the Cat in this mission, and obviously your main objective on this mission is to avoid a lot of parts, because if you dare manage to smash one of them, your rank will decrease. And as a result, thankfully though, not only for the Xbox 360 version, as well as the PC version if I was assuming so anyway, as well as the PlayStation 3 version if I was assuming so for that point as well, thankfully though, the actual precision of accuracy is actually way more tolerable around here, because obviously though, the analog stick is your best friend, especially noticeable if you try to able to tilt it slightly. Not only you can able to actually get yourselves a good driving position, but it's also about the fact that, well, you can't go too slow on that part, because otherwise, if your time actually runs out, you have to restart this entire mission again. So thankfully though, I did somehow accomplish this mission on my first attempt, so kudos to the actual analog stick precision, because trust me what I'm saying is, I will not recommend you able to experience this mission with the Wii Remote motion controls on the Wii version, because no matter what though, the actual motion thing is a little bit sensitive for my liking, because I do remember whenever I first got to this mission on the Wii version, my god, I have to do a lot of retries on that mission. Specifically, it's bad enough that there was only one option I can think about when it comes to dealing with this control scheme on the Wii version. That is, of course, the Wii remote on its own. Like, if I was playing like Mario Kart Wii all over again, except the fact that we have to try to avoid as many of those parts as I could. Although, thankfully though, I can probably go back onto the Wii version if I decided to, because thankfully though, I've managed able to actually still got myself the Wii Classic controller, because thankfully the Wii Classic controller does manage able to get supported on the Wii version, thankfully. So imagine if I was trying to go back onto the Wii version on my spare own time. Thankfully, I can able to actually just try to plug into my Wii Classic Controller Pro onto my Wii remote. So thankfully though, the actual steering accuracy will be a lot more easy to manage compared to the forms of how it does it with the Wii remote on its own, because my goodness, it is so unintuitive, and it's also very sensitive as well. Well, that's from my experience anyway though. So anyways, as you can tell, we're now on mission 16, where basically we have to deal with yet another mini Grand Prix, except this time it's going to be a huge focus. It's going to be involved around your player's Billy Hatcher that you're going to be playing as, and as a result, we're going to be traversing into every single tracks based off from Billy Hatcher and a Giant Egg. Specifically, not only for the likes of the forms of, well, let's just say, I would say Icicle Valley, as well as Rampart Road, and finally Lava Layer. So yeah, that's the only tracks I can probably think about. So, because here's the thing though, because unlike in Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed, there's only one racetrack based off of Billy Hatcher and a Giant Egg, which I'm not exactly sure what that track is called per se, because it's been about, 5 years ago since I actually have last played Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed, not only for the Xbox 360, but also on multiple platforms as well, including the Wii U version, just because no matter what though, despite the fact that we can no longer play online during the forms within a Wii U version anymore, same applies with the forms of the 3DS as well, just because, as you probably already know, Nintendo Network has officially become dead. So, yeah, it's pretty sad, honestly. So, anyways, back into what I was saying about the forms of the ND World announcements they did somehow bring. I think I've already mentioned about 3 of those things they did somehow announce during the forms of the actual recent ND World, which there are Little Kitty Big City, which obviously that's going to be super promising, because it does kind of remind me like a similar gameplay style as the forms of Untitled Goose Game, except the fact that you're going to be playing as a cat. So yeah, that's actually pretty cool to me anyway. And of course, like I said before, it's about to due out at some point on the 9th of May in the forms of this year, and it's going to be coming out on the Nintendo Switch. I'm not exactly sure about the forms of other systems for this point though. Well, that's just mainly because I'm more restricted to the forms of trying to able to only look upon the Nintendo Switch presentations as far as I can remember. So, and the next game after that, I mentioned about this before already, and that's what appears to be Yars Rising, and that's due out at some point in this year, in 2024. And after that, they somehow announced that, like I've already mentioned about this before, but I'll also might as well mention about this again, and that will have to be Refined Self, the personality test game, and it's about to due out at some point in this summer in Journey Forms of in 2024. So that's going to be roughly in Journey Forms of either in June or July or August, depending on the forms of the release time schedule. And after that, it appears to be not only for the game, but also with the DLC as well. And those two in questioning are Sticky Business as the game itself, and as far as the DLC is concerned, is actually going to be Plan With Me, or in one in particular package, or specifically with the bundle itself. Now, I'm pretty sure about the fact that when it comes to Sticky Business, alongside with the forms of Plan With Me DLC, both of those things combined into one has recently came out just recently, so nothing else to add. I mean, sure, it's just there, and relatively speaking though, I'm pretty much not interested with that particular stuff, I must be honest for this point right here. But after that, it's kind of surprising to me that there's actually a game called Atom Blast, which, kind of thinking about it, for I've seen the gameplay footage of that game, it does kind of feels like a huge inspiration from the likes of the Warrior Land games. Specifically, not only Warrior Land 4, but the same applies with the forms of Warrior Land, the Shake Dimension, because if you manage to able to make your way to like the point A through B, and then once you get to point B, obviously though, you might able to actually trigger a time limit, so this means you have to travel backwards throughout the level, and obviously if the time runs out, then obviously you'll get a game over or something. So, yeah, it does kind of remind me of a similar vibes, as in not only Warrior Land 4, but also with Warrior Land the Shake Dimension, which, speaking of which though, I'm afraid to tell you for this point guys, we have to once again gonna have to able to delay our Let's Play of Warrior Land the Shake Dimension, hopefully for the final time for delaying that particular playthrough until 2025, because the reason being for this is because basically we are still waiting to able to hopefully trying to do our Let's Plays of not only Luigi's Mansion 2 HD to able to actually catch up on, you know, the rest of the entire trilogy of the Luigi's Mansion games to tackle through, but also with the forms of Super Monkey Ball, Banana Rumble, so we can potentially try to able to continue playing some more Super Monkey Ball games just before, well, obviously it's a bit difficult to say, because no matter what though, I'm pretty concerned about the fact that we've only just got about exactly 2 months left now until, to be more specifically, Super Monkey Ball Banana Rumble is going to be releasing on the Nintendo Switch for sure, and same applies with the forms of Luigi's Mansion 2 HD as well. So there are a few things I was really looking forward to able to actually, well, participating for doing Let's Plays department for the sake of the forms of this year. Although still, no matter what though, I feel like about the fact that the actual game announcements these days are starting getting a little bit too dried up for the majority of the forms of 2024 so far. Well, don't get me wrong, there are some potential stuff I would like to able to be hyped about, like specifically the Year of Shadow of course, which is especially noticeable because recently what I found out as well, that Sonic Cross Shadow Generations has recently been rated not only for its ESRB rating board, but it's also about the fact that it's now being rated in the forms of in South Korea, just like the forms of how it does on any other games recently. So, no matter what though, unlike any forms of how it does it in the original Sonic generations, that back then on the Xbox 360 version, alongside with the PlayStation 3 version as well, and a honorable mention with the forms of the 3DS counterpart as well, that usually the actual rating board for ESRB board, that basically though it did say rated E for everyone, whilst compared to the forms of how it does it for the upcoming remaster of Sonic Cross Shadow Generations, it's now going to be upgraded into rated E10+, so meaning about the fact that we might come across into some fear, and on top of that, darker tones, especially noticeable, that is when Shadow the Hedgehog comes into play. So no matter what though, is about the fact that we still have no idea of what specific levels they were able to actually add it in, for the likes of the forms of Shadow Generations portion of that particular remaster coming up. So I'm sure enough though is about the fact that it's most likely focuses on Shadow's past or anything else to be more specific. So then again, we shall see what happens in due time, especially noticeable, maybe we're able to actually hear more about it, not only for the likes of the forms of the upcoming Summer Game Fest, but it's also maybe it's a possibility that we might able to actually hear about the forms of the only Sonic Central Direct, maybe at some point in during the forms of it next month on May. So hopefully we're able to actually not only see some more gameplay footage of that particular remaster, but also maybe every once in a while they try to advertise with the forms of a 2D short anime, animated short or something like that, to able to promote with the actual game itself or something. But then again, no, we'll have to wait and see what happens. So either way, that pretty much takes care of the forms of Mission 16. So now we're about to move on to Mission 17. And once again, I somehow achieved a AAA rank. So awesome stuff. And thankfully though, if you do manage to able to accomplish certain Grand Prix missions, you're able to actually easily get yourselves a whole bunch of SEGA miles. So basically though, I can able to actually buy not only music as well as characters, despite the fact that this is on the PlayStation 3 version, so no matter what though, I have to re-buy characters as well as racetracks every once in a while, because then again, when you first start the game, you have to start things off with not only a few amounts of playable characters, but also whenever you decide to able to do multiplayer, obviously though you can only select up to 8 tracks when you first start off the game. So either way, So as you can see on Mission 17, this particular racetrack looks familiar, doesn't it? Except now, rather than just trying to able to dodge parts, thankfully, so now we can able to break parts. So it's almost like a vendetta against me, for the sake of the forms of how I've experienced the worst experience on the Wii version for that particular dodge the parts mission, even though despite the fact I have to simply rush for this, because otherwise though, I was originally trying to able to get a AAA, but unfortunately though, due to time constraints, I just gonna have to rush this. So, oh well, no big deal, at least we got a singular A, so we don't have any issues with this point. So now let's move on to the next mission. And if I recall correctly, it's going to be involved around a knockout. So basically, we have to play as Beat once again, except now taking place in Rokauhu Hill. I'm pretty sure that's what it says anyway. And there's also another thing I want to point out as well. Speaking of something related to Sonic the Hedgehog, is that what I found out that the actual collectible you can get this time around from the likes of the forms of the most recent update for Sonic Dream Team, and as a result that we're about to be getting a Dream Moon. It kind of reminds me of the forms of obtaining those Power Moons from the likes of Super Mario Odyssey, as well as the forms of 3-up Moons from the likes of not only Super Mario World, but also with the forms of New Super Mario Bros. U as well, assuming of course you need able to actually just to play on the Wii U version, because I'm pretty sure it's not possible to able to actually get that item anymore on the Switch version, just because of the lack of boost mode for the Wii U gamepad, or with the touchscreen in mind. So everything else will become to expect when it comes to able to comparing some other aspects in particular. And also, similar to the forms of how it does it on Sonic Frontiers, for I've noticed something about this anyway, that I believe that some toys else have already mentioned about this before, about the fact that yes indeed, the ranking system is going to be back on Sonic Dream Team. And no matter what though, similar to Sonic Frontiers on the cyberspace segments, basically though, if you're trying to able to perform well enough in journey forms of specific runs, if you're trying to able to achieve, well, just like the forms of how it does it on any other Sonic games, since Sonic Colors, Sonic Generations, Sonic Lost World, maybe with Sonic Forces, despite the fact that Sonic Forces doesn't seem to able to have a D rank. So, relatively speaking, I'm on about with the forms of, aforementioned Sonic Frontiers, because as far as I'm aware, you're able to once again actually trying to get 5 ranks in particular, which there are D rank is considered to be the worst rank, and C rank, as well as the B rank, and even the A rank, and even with the S rank. However, the color scheme looks a lot different this time around, when it comes to the forms of the D rank, C rank, and B rank respectively. Because normally in the previous Sonic games, that basically the D rank is often considered to be the worst rank you can get for some Sonic games, usually for the likes of the forms of Sonic Colors, as well as Sonic Generations, as well as the forms of Sonic Lost World, for I've noticed that already, that basically though the D rank often gives us a bit of a dull color scheme, whilst if you try to achieve the C rank, it gives you like a bronze color, and a B rank for silver, and A for gold, whilst compared to the S rank is like platinum. In Dream Team this time around, it's actually completely opposite. Like basically it gives us a D rank, it gives you like a bronze metal color scheme, and meanwhile for C rank it's obviously silver, and gold for B, and platinum for A, and S rank on the other hand is actually in purple, which it kind of reminds me like a similar vibes as the forms of a, purple relics from the likes of the forms of Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time, especially noticeable because concerning for the fact that for that game, if you really want to get out of your way to able to actually get one of those specific color variants for one of those specific time trial relics, that basically though if you really want able to go out for the challenge by simply able to beat the staff guess or the staff best results for specific time relics and stuff like that, that basically though the purple relics are just there for the sake of bragging rights, and you pretty much name the rest of it. So, and yeah, as I mentioned this before, just like in Sonic Frontiers for the cyberspace segments, it actually tells you how much time you need to beat if you really want able to get certain ranks on specific stages. So that's always a nice welcoming addition, because unlike the forms of how it does on the previous Sonic games, you have to take a massive guess to able to actually know of how to able to achieve the S rank depending on what specific stages you go into. So it's nice about the fact that it does remind you about the fact that what specific time you need to achieve in order to able to receive the best results. So just to, you know, classify that. So anyways, back into what I was saying about the forms of the ND World announcements they did somehow bring. I think last time we left off is, oh yeah, Atom Blast. Atom Blast is going to be releasing at some point on the 12th of November, specifically in this year. So at the very least, we got something for the sake of the forms of the second half of the year. So yeah, not much else I could really discuss upon. But I will say, the actual art style of that game looks very, very cool. It's almost like the forms of a, I don't know about you, it's been quite some time since I actually looked upon some of these indie games, to be more specifically, because I'm still basically waiting for able to not only hearing the forms of a overview trailer at some point soon for the likes of Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door on Switch Remake, as well as some other games I was really looking forward to that maybe will do shadow drops at one point. Well, then again, it's a bit difficult to tell at this point. So, anyway, and I think, exponentially speaking of, is that game has been recently got its demo has been available. So as a result, yeah, if you want to try that out, then by all means, give it a shot. And the next game after that, though, which appears to be by the forms of Valley Peaks, and that's going to be coming in during at some point in this year in 2024. So yeah, nothing too surprising for my book. And the next game after that, which appears to be by the forms of Laura Ori and the Laser Eyes, and that game is going to be releasing at some point on the 16th of May in Juni forms within this year in 2024, a day before My Little Pony as Zephyr Heights Mystery that's going to be coming out, and it's also about a week before Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door on Switch Remake is going to be releasing during that specific period as well. So yeah, that's quite a lot of releases in Journey forms within next month, which appears to be May. So anyway, as you can see, we actually did it yet again with the hit contest mission, except the fact that we have to use that specific green boxing gloves to able to actually beat the likes out of the forms of a bunch of these crab robots. So, not exactly sure what their names are, because obviously it's been quite some time since I actually have last played some Sonic games, since, you know, Sonic 06 as far as what Maxi has already tackled throughout this point, and maybe exponentially speaking, we can able to play some even more Sonic games, for not just by doing several Let's Plays that needs to be doing, but also with certain redo Let's Plays from time to time, just before the third Sonic movie is going to be on the horizon. So, and that could be also applies with Sonic Cross Shadow Generations is coming out as well. So yeah, everything else will become to expect to be looking forward to, especially noticeable with the die-hard Sonic fans such as myself. Now, as you can see, we're now on the next mission, where basically we have to take control of Alex Kidd, and we once again going to be participating in a race, except now we're about to race against with the forms of certain racers that drives motorcycles. So yeah, that seems very makes sense, kind of think about it, because obviously, as you can tell, Alex Kidd also drives on a motorcycle as well. So yeah, it makes it a little bit more obvious than ever. So anyways, the next game after that, though, which appears to be, is kind of a cool one, and that's what appears to be Europea. Europea, it kind of reminds me like a similar vibes as the forms of not only The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, but also with The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom as well. Like, the art style looks a bit like cel-shaded look, and on top of that, you're able to actually go into this open world feel to it, and yeah, it does kind of reminds me of that. And as far as I'm aware, the game is going to be releasing in this year sometime, and even then, to make matters even better, the demo version of the game has also been available recently, well, in about a couple of days ago. So yeah, nothing else I can really say about it. And the next game after that is actually kind of a surprising one. That's what appears to be a yet another Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game. Except this time what appears to be by the forms of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Splintered Fate. At least as far as what it did say anyway. And the actual game itself is going to be releasing at some point in July, in this year. So that's also another one of those games that's going to be releasing on the second half of the year. So yeah, that seems very promising. And the next game after that, it appears to be by the forms of Cat Quest 3. Not only does it reveal the actual release date, and that's going to be due out at some point on the 8th of August in Journey Forms of this year, but also is about the fact that yes indeed, the demo version has already been came out, so yeah, nothing else I can really discuss. And the next game after that, which appears to be Stitch, not to be confused as the forms of a Disney character, except the fact that you have to Stitch, you know, with all these threads and everything. I think that's what the game usually is all about, rather than what it evolves around with the Disney character, unlike back in Journey Forms of in the 2000s era, or specifically the 2010s era to be more specifically, because I already know for a fact that Stitch as a Disney character did somehow receive quite a few games, not only for handhelds but also on some console installments as well, I guess. So anyway, and obviously Stitch did somehow came out just recently, so nothing else I could really explain about it. And after that though, they've shown us a whole montage of the forms of the other indie games they somehow mentioned about. Like for instance, there's the forms of Blitz. That's going to be due out at some point in summer this year. So yeah, nothing else I can really say about it. And after that, they've shown us a pretty cool game, which appears to be by the forms of Skull Him. Skull Him, it involves around you're able to actually traverse into shadows, which is actually a pretty cool concept. And that game is going to be due out at some point on the 18th of July in this year. So yeah, again, nothing else I can say. And the next game, what appears to be by the forms of Animal Well, that's going to be due out at some point on the 9th of May, so around the same time as the forms of one of those games, specifically Little Kitty Big City. So yeah, that's what I can really think about it. And also there's the forms of Duck Detective, The Secret Salami, I think is what it says anyway. That's going to be due out around the exact same day as in Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door Switch Remake on the 23rd of May in this year. So yeah, that's something I'm mainly looking forward to, but I'm honestly going to be sticking around with Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door Switch Remake the most. So that's what I can really talk about. I would have liked able to mention something else at this point, but let's just say we'll save that particular more discussions on these other announcements for the most recent indie world during at some point on this Friday. So with that being said, folks, is that we're getting things up here. So join me next time on Let's Play Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing on mission mode, is that we go on to mission number 23 and onwards. So I'll see you guys until on Friday. Later, fellas.